These three people live in the Columbia Basin, and they're all trying to plan for their future. This is Karen. She's a city councilor and is noticing more extreme and unpredictable weather systems. She's concerned because extreme events can impact her town's operations. Wildfires, floods, and emergency preparedness are on her mind. Karen needs to plan differently for her community's safety and well-being. This is Daniela. She's an elementary school student, and she listens to her family talk about how times are different now. They used to jump off the roof into giant snowbanks every winter, but that doesn't happen anymore because things are changing. This is Grant. Now that he's retired from the mill, he's got more time to garden, and he's noticing that the growing season is getting longer. But he's concerned about the weeds invading his garden, and he wonders if he needs to plan and manage his garden differently. These three people are all different, but they have one thing in common. They have all observed changes that may be related to climate change. Local people are noticing changes, and so are the scientists, like Professor Mell.
Scientific research for the Columbia Basin confirms significant changes in temperature and precipitation trends since the 1900s. In the past 100 years, it has warmed by an average of 1.5 degrees Celsius, with proportionally more warming occurring in winter than in summer. It has also gotten wetter, spring runoff is earlier, glaciers are shrinking, and the frost-free season is getting longer.
Professor Mell has studied the climate for a long time. Still, for the people planning their future, it's not clear. They want to know why one winter is long and snowy and the next one is warm and rainy. Is that climate change?
Those year-to-year changes are part of what's called natural variability. It's one of the harder climate change concepts to understand, so let's start with the difference between weather and climate. Weather is what's happening from minute to minute and day to day, all the way up to 2 weeks. Climate describes the average weather over a much longer time period. This could be 30, 50, or 100 years or more. Climate is defined by long-term averages for things like temperature and precipitation. Natural variability is the range of weather conditions you can expect to experience within a particular climate or season. So yes, some winters are warmer and some are colder. Some have more snow and some have less. These short-term changes are examples of natural variability, which has always been part of our climate. The important thing to remember is that climate change is about the long-term changes to what's been established as normal weather and variability for an area. So to review, the three things to remember are: 1. The difference between weather and climate; 2. That there's always natural variability; and 3. Climate change is about the long term.
Now that Professor Mell has given us an overview of how our Columbia Basin climate has changed, plus some basic terminology to help us understand weather and climate, let's look to the future.
Our climate models can show projections for 20 years, 50 years, or 100 years into the future. Here's what the climate modeling is telling us about what the new normals in the basin could be by the 2050s. Average annual temperature increases of 2.4 degrees to 3.0 degrees Celsius, with more warming expected to occur in winter relative to summer. We can also expect more of our winter precipitation to fall as rain, particularly at lower elevations, which is where most of us live. Storms may become more intense. Snowmelt could occur as much as 1 month sooner. Late summer stream flows will be lower. Low elevation snowpack will decrease. The key message is that future climate in the basin will be defined by a very different range of possible weather conditions and events than ever before in history.
Thanks, Professor Mell. That's important information. Now let's revisit our friends in the Columbia Basin. For Karen, who is helping to govern a small town, these changes mean thinking about the timing and volume of water flows, preparing for more intense, frequent storms and potential wildfires. For Daniela, our elementary school student, it means telling her friends and reminding the adults around her that the kids of today are depending on them to make the right decisions. For Grant, the gardener, a longer growing season means opportunities to grow more foods and flowers, but it could also mean less water is available for his garden in late summer. Plus, he may have to deal with more pests and weeds. It used to be that we could plan for the future based on the past, but we're seeing new and different trends than before. Now we have to plan for warmer, drier summers, warmer, wetter winters, and more extreme weather. We need to remember that there could be more variability and unpredictability in weather and climate than ever before. That wraps up our short introduction to climate change science for the Columbia Basin.